Leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They have either lost confidence that you can help or concluded you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership. 1. It ain't as bad as you think. It will look better in the morning. 2. Get mad, then get over it. 3. Avoid having your ego so close to your position that when your position falls, your ego goes with it. 4. It can be done. 5. Be careful what you choose. You may get it. 6. Don't let adverse facts stand in the way of a good decision. 7. You can't make someone else's choices. You shouldn't let someone else make yours. 8. Check small things. 9. Share credit. 10. Remain calm. Be kind. Leadership is all about people. It is not about organizations. It is not about plans. It is not about strategies. It is all about people motivating people to get the job done. You have to be people-centered. None of us can change our yesterdays, but all of us can change our tomorrows. When we are debating an issue, loyalty means giving me your honest opinion, whether you think I'll like it or not. Disagreement, at this state, stimulates me. But once a decision is made, the debate ends. From that point on, loyalty means executing the decision as if it were your own. Good leaders set vision, missions, and goals. Great leaders inspire every follower at every level to internalize their purpose and to understand that their purpose goes far beyond the mere details of their job. When everyone is united in purpose, a positive purpose that serves not only the organization but also, hopefully, the world beyond it, you have a winning team. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. Don't just show kindness in passing or to be courteous. Show it in depth, show it with passion, and expect nothing in return. Kindness is not just about being nice, it's about recognizing another human being who deserves care and respect. The most important thing I learned is that soldiers watch what their leaders do. You can give them classes and lecture them forever, but it is your personal example they will follow. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. I am talking about a gung-ho attitude that says we can change things here, we can achieve awesome goals, we can be the best. Spare me the grim litany of the realist, give me the unrealistic aspirations of the optimist any day. Always do your best. Somebody is watching you. Don't just count your days, make your days count. Always show more kindness than seems necessary, because the person receiving it needs it more than you will ever know. We have to start thinking of America as a family. We have to stop screeching at each other, stop hurting each other, and instead start caring for, sacrificing for, and sharing with each other. We cannot move forward if cynics and critics swoop down and pick apart anything that goes wrong, to a point where we lose sight of what is right, decent, and uniquely good about America. You can't make someone else's choices. You shouldn't let someone else make yours. Over the years, the United States has sent many of its fine young men and women into great peril to fight for freedom beyond our borders. The only amount of land we have ever asked for in return is enough to bury those that did not return. Get mad, then get over it. The commander in the field is always right and the rear echelon is wrong, unless proved otherwise. In my experience, the people closest to the problems are often in the best position to see the solutions. The key here is to empower and not be the bottleneck. Every organization needs to be introspective, transparent, and honest with itself. This only works if everyone is unified on the goals and purposes of the organization and there is trust within the team. High-performing, successful organizations build cultures of introspection and trust and never lose sight of their purpose. Being responsible sometimes means pissing people off. Surround yourself with people who take their work seriously, but not themselves, those who work hard and play hard. Effective leaders are made, not born. They learn from trial and error and from experience. Always be looking for that which you do well and that which you love doing, and when you find those two things together, man, you got it. One of the greatest talents of all is the talent to recognize and to develop talent in others. Organization doesn't really accomplish anything. Plans don't accomplish anything either. Theories of management don't much matter. Endeavors succeed or fail because of the people involved. Only by attracting the best people will you accomplish great deeds. Being kind doesn't mean being soft or a wuss. Kindness is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of confidence. If you have developed a reputation for kindness and consideration, then even the most unpleasant decisions will go down easier because everyone will understand why you are doing what you are doing. They will realize that your decision must be necessary and is not arbitrary or without empathy. As the old saying puts it, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world. Every organization should tolerate rebels who tell the emperor he has no clothes. The freedom to do your best means nothing unless you are willing to do your best. Respect for leaders by followers can't be mandated, it must be earned. It has to be given to leaders by their followers. You can never err by treating everyone in the building with respect, thoughtfulness, and a kind word. Every one of our employees is an essential employee. Every one of them wants to be viewed that way. And if you treat them that way, they will view you that way. They will not let you down or let you fail. They will accomplish whatever you have put in front of them. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is the slogan of the complacent, the arrogant, or the scared. It's an excuse for inaction, a call to non-arms. Strategy equals execution. All the great ideas and visions in the world are worthless if they can't be implemented rapidly and efficiently. Good leaders delegate and empower others liberally, but they pay attention to details every day. Give me the right people, and I don't much care what organization you give me. Good things will happen. Give me the wrong people, and it doesn't matter what you do with the organization. Bad things will happen. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. Look for intelligence and judgment and, most critically, a capacity to anticipate, to see around corners. Also look for loyalty, integrity, a high energy drive, a balanced ego, and the drive to get things done. Don't be buffaloed by experts and elites. Experts often possess more data than judgment. Elites can become so inbred that they produce hemophiliacs who bleed to death as soon as they are nicked by the real world. All children need a laptop. Not a computer, but a human laptop. Moms, dads, grannies and grandpas, aunts, uncles, someone to hold them, read to them, teach them. Loved ones who will embrace them and pass on the experience, rituals, and knowledge of 100 previous generations. Loved ones who will pass to the next generation their expectations of them, their hopes, and their dreams. All children need a laptop. Not a computer, but a human laptop. Moms, dads, grannies and grandpas, aunts, uncles, someone to hold them, read to them, teach them. Loved ones who will embrace them and pass on the experience, rituals, and knowledge of 100 previous generations. Loved ones who will pass to the next generation their expectations of them, their hopes, and their dreams. Always focus on the front windshield and not the review mirror. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. When you wrestle with a pig, he has fun, and you just end up dirty. Treat people kindly. When you are kind to somebody, and I don't mean necessarily buddy-buddy, just show kindness and consideration. Show that people are worthy and you respect them and you are glad they're with you. An organization that is not facing up to people who are not getting the job done is going to have difficulties. There is no such thing as an unimportant person in an organization. Whenever you start, give it your best. The opportunities are there to be anything you want to be. But wanting to be someone isn't enough, dreaming about it isn't enough, thinking about it isn't enough. You've got to study for it, work for it, fight for it with all your heart and soul, because nobody is going to hand it to you. If a leader doesn't convey passion and intensity, then there will be no passion and intensity within the organization, and they'll start to fall down and get depressed. One important element of leadership is taking care of the troops. Leaders have followers. The primary role of a leader is to convey to those followers a sense of purpose, vision, and mission. No matter how significant or life-changing your greatest hit or miss might be, neither even begins to define who you are. Each of us is a product of all our experiences and all our interactions with other people. To cite calculus, we are the area under the curve. Leadership is the art of accomplishing more than the science of management says is possible. Maybe we don't put our young people in situations often enough where they're allowed to fail. When you fail, you gain experience, and with enough experience, you don't fail as often. Don't let your ego get too close to your position, so that if your position gets shot down, your ego doesn't go with it. I would caution my Republican friends that 3 years to go, and in that 3 years the American people are going to want to see some progress and not just claims that this guy is out of office and we're going to do everything to destroy him, or that somehow he is a socialist taking over the country. Have we so lost our faith in this country that we think one person, one man can suddenly change our entire system? That's kind of absurd. I would caution my Republican friends that 3 years to go, and in that 3 years the American people are going to want to see some progress and not just claims that this guy is out of office and we're going to do everything to destroy him, or that somehow he is a socialist taking over the country. Have we so lost our faith in this country that we think one person, one man can suddenly change our entire system? That's kind of absurd. Endeavors succeed or fail because of the people involved. First, you train the followers to accomplish the mission. Second, you resource them, make sure that they have the tools to do the job. Third, you reward them, you give them medals or bonuses. I think whether you're having setbacks or not, the role of a leader is to always display a winning attitude. Always be looking for the opportunities, and always be optimistic about what you can do with that opportunity. Poverty arises and persists where corruption is endemic and enterprise is stifled, where basic fairness provided by the rule of law is absent. In such circumstances, poverty is an assault against human dignity, and in that assault lies the natural seed of human anger. In the military, we are always looking for ways to leverage up our forces. Having greater communications and command and control over your forces than your enemy has over his is a force multiplier. Having greater logistics capability than the enemy is a force multiplier. Having better trained commanders is a force multiplier. Perpetual optimism, believing in yourself, believing in your purpose, believing you will prevail, and demonstrating passion and confidence is a force multiplier. If you believe and have prepared your followers, the followers will believe. I have never seen a good organization where the standards weren't high. What could be more important than equipping the next generation with the character and competence they need to become successful? Let me just be candid, my party is full of racists. And the real reason a considerable portion of my party wants President Obama out of the White House has nothing to do with the content of his character, nothing to do with his competence as commander-in-chief and president, and everything to do with the color of his skin. And that's despicable. Have a vision, but it's not enough to have a vision, you have to communicate that vision to others. You have to communicate it to people who work with you and for you. You have to communicate it to the world leaders with whom you come in touch. Good leaders must know how to reward those who succeed and know when to retrain, move, or fire ineffective staff. Each of us must work to become a hard-headed realist, or else we risk wasting our time and energy on pursuing impossible dreams. Yet constant naysayers pursue no less impossible dreams. Their fear and cynicism move nothing forward. They kill progress. How many cynics built empires, great cities, or powerful corporations? Leaders honor their core values, but they are flexible in how they execute them. My own experience is that you get as much information as you can and then you pay attention to your intuition, to your informed instinct. You can't get it all done yourself. The best leaders are not afraid of picking people who are better than they are and who may one day replace them. The United States presents a value system to the world that is based on democracy, based on economic freedom, based on individual rights for men and women. I think that is what makes us such a draw for nations around the world. People come to the United States to be educated, to become Americans. We are a country of countries, and we touch every country, and every country in the world touches us. All values are important. Everyone who has ever touched my life in some way was a mentor for good or bad. Life is a blend, and a person is a blend of all the influences that have touched their lives. In other words, don't expect to always be great. Disappointments, failures, and setbacks are a normal part of the life cycle of a unit or a company, and what the leader has to do is constantly be up and say, "We have a problem, let's go and get it." You should never be so involved with your position job that when the position is gone, your entire self-image is gone with it. When I was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I would still have junior officers brief me. Usually these people knew more about the subject we were discussing than I did. I had to make sure that they felt confident enough to tell me everything they believed. It is good if your enemy underestimates you. The dumber they think you are, the more surprised they are when you kill them. But you have to understand, American democracy is not like the system you have. We're not an ocean liner that sails across the ocean from point A to point B at 30 knots. That's not American democracy. American democracy is kind of like a life raft that bobs around the ocean all the time. Your feet are always wet. Winds are always blowing. You're cold. You're wet. You're uncomfortable, but you never sink. There is a war on terror that must be fought. Nobody's immune. And so rather than finding fault with what Spain has done by being aggressive in the war on terror, this should redouble everyone's efforts to go after terrorist organizations of any kind. Terror has to be brought to an end. Fear is a normal human emotion. It is not in itself a killer. We can learn to be aware when fear grips us and can train to operate through and in spite of our fear. If, on the other hand, we don't understand that fear is normal and has to be controlled and overcome, it will paralyze us and stop us in our tracks. We will no longer think clearly or analyze rationally. We prepare for it and control it. We never let it control us. If it does, we cannot lead. My responsibility, our responsibility as lucky Americans, is to try to give back to this country as much as it has given us, as we continue our American journey together. In the Army, we are drilled into execution and then supervision to make sure everything goes the way you planned it. But there is another thing that we do in the military that I think perhaps isn't done enough in corporate life. As soon as you have made that decision, you start on the contingency planning. Because there is, as we like to say, a thinking, breathing enemy out there who is not going to let you do just what you want. Fit no stereotypes. Don't chase the latest management fads. The situation dictates which approach best accomplishes the team's mission. It is not the role of the United States to dictate change, but to enter into discussions with our friends. Preferring members of any one group for no reason other than race or ethnic origin is discrimination for its own sake. This the Constitution forbids. We are not trapped in what the science of management says we can do. We are capable of doing what the art of leadership says is possible. The chief condition on which life, health, and vigor depend on is action. It is by action that an organism develops its faculties, increases its energy, and attains the fulfillment of its destiny. Service learning is a particularly fertile way of involving young people in community service because it ties helping others to what they are learning in the classroom. It enables them to apply academic disciplines to practical, everyday problems. In the process, it provides a compelling answer to the adolescent's perennial question, why do I need to learn this stuff? Don't take counsel of your fears or naysayers. Is there something wrong with being a Muslim in this country? The answer is no. That's not America. Is there something wrong with being a Muslim in this country? The answer is no. That's not America. One of the fondest expressions around is that we can't be the world's policeman. But guess who gets called when suddenly someone needs a cop? We view Egypt as a good friend of America. We are in constant touch with them. We provide them economic and military assistance as part of our relationship. I have always admired the linking pin theory of management specialist Rensselaer. It says that in every organization there are leaders who link the lower level to the upper level. What makes somebody an effective link as a leader is that he conveys down everything that above wants and he conveys up everything that below needs. We are not going to dwell on those things that divide us. We are going to rejoice in those things that keep us together to make this a better country, to reach down and back to touch every young person in need. President's personal staff has a unique role. They're his intimate personal advisors, and the tradition and the precedent has been, even when I was National Security Advisor, that people in that position do not testify before the Congress. They talk to the Congress. They have meetings with the Congress. Use the formula P equals 40 to 70, in which P stands for the probability of success and the numbers indicate the percentage of information acquired. Once the information is in the 40 to 70 range, go with your gut. Generally, you should act somewhere between P40 and P70, as I call it. Sometime after you have obtained 40% of all the information you are liable to get, start thinking in terms of making a decision. When you have about 70% of all the information, you probably ought to decide, because you may lose an opportunity in losing time. Don't be afraid to challenge the pros, even in their own backyard. Learn from the pros, observe them, seek them out as mentors and partners. But remember that even the pros may have leveled out in terms of their learning and skills. Sometimes even the pros can become complacent and lazy. I regret that the presentation I made at the UN turned out to be wrong. It was wrong on the stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction, but pretty much right on intentions and capabilities. Policies that emanate from ivory towers often have an adverse impact on the people out in the field who are fighting the wars or bringing in the revenues. The United States-Israeli relationship is based on the broadest conception of American national interest, in which our two nations are bound forever together by common democratic values and traditions. This will never change. We have to be on guard that we don't spend so much time worrying about terrorism and guarding ourselves that we start to lose the essence of who we are as an open, freedom-loving people, welcoming to the rest of the world. Terrorism threat is serious, and not just to American interests. The assaults in Russia against two airliners, bringing them out of the sky, and against the subway station, and then that horrible scene at the school in Beslan. This kind of terrorist activity, no one is immune from it. And so it suggests that we have to do even more together to make sure the civilized worlds join together in the war against terrorism. We need to understand that we as citizens and as a government in any community throughout this country have no more important obligation than to educate those who are going to replace us. President Reagan fueled the spirit of America. His smile, his optimism, his total belief in the ultimate triumph of democracy and freedom, and his willingness to act on that belief helped end the Cold War and usher in a new and brighter phase of history. Another rule I have is, don't let your ego get tied up in a policy dispute. Otherwise, if things don't go your way, you can end up breaking a relationship with somebody with whom you can't afford to break. The best leaders are those who break that mission down into the organization's constituent parts, so that everybody understands their role and how it all builds into the whole. Well, the correct answer is he is not a Muslim, he's a Christian. He's always been a Christian. But the really right answer is, what if he is? Is there something wrong with being a Muslim in this country? Our failure was that our intelligence community thought had stockpiled weapons of mass destruction. That was a mistake. There is fallibility in human intelligence and in human decisions. With respect to where we are now, we have a voluntary army. And if we ever go back to conscription, I hope that at time it will be the kind of conscription that was put in at the end of the Vietnam War. And that is, everybody is equally liable to be called to serve the nation in time of conflict. We have gone forth from our shores repeatedly over the last 100 years, and we've done this as recently as the last year in Afghanistan and put wonderful young men and women at risk, many of whom have lost their lives, and we have asked for nothing except enough ground to bury them in, and otherwise we have returned home to seek our own lives in peace.